You guys sure do love Peter Davison stories. Chosen Chimp here, and I'm about to go multi-serial. Let's go. Among the many subscribers who put in requests for me to talk about Doctor Who stuff, and thank you very much, I recently received a request to talk about Black Orchid, which on the surface seemed a no-brainer for me. I considered it an irresistible topic. Irresistible by large because the second episode pays reference to a character called Smutty Thomas. No expanded fiction or anything. But this 1925-based two-part murder mystery romp and its eclectic mix of characters and rural setting can be packaged within a bigger thing that was happening within the 5th Doctor's 3-season tenure, namely two-part serials set in the past and located in UK Earth, of which there were 3. There was one such serial for each season, and Black Orchid was the one to fully lean on the conventions of reality, not in the sense that any of the events really happened, they didn't, or even that it was realistic per se, more in the sense that it lent itself towards absolutely no science fiction, fantasy or supernatural elements whatsoever. Instead it had a kind of Agatha Christie vibe to it, and seemed on the outset to exist solely so the 5th Doctor could play cricket, a strange otherworldly game where you use a hard ball to shatter the knackers of your opponent. Seems a bit violent for the Doctor's tastes, but it is 80s Who we're dealing with here, so I guess we'll run with it. Soon enough, the Doctor and Niskandric, that was my clever attempt to put the names of Nyssa, Tegan and Adric together, are embroiled in a stately mansion-based mystery made more rompish by the fact that there is a Nyssa doppelganger, a fancy dress knees up to end all kneeses up, and a masked killer on the loose. Good fun this one actually. There's even a part where you can hear the Doctor having a wee. Lots of hidden doors and mistaken identities, and Tegan performing the Charleston with such vigour that it starts to rain. Some spine-chilling twists and turns. A ropey stunt gone a bit wrong. Turns out the killer was a respected family member who was disfigured by an angry tribe of Native Americans for stealing the Black Orchid, which they let him keep anyway. The story ends with the Doctor being presented with a big blue book that if you read it, it tells you what happens. Okay guys, I think you get the idea here. I am discussing not one serial in this video but 3, which triples the contentiousness of my commentary. But we're here to have fun, aren't we? Did you enjoy the fancy dress party? Well, bring on the robot minstrel. Stat. Historical, two-part and Peter Davison might be the only key words you can use to thread Black Orchid and the King's Demons together, but hey, it's still a theme, so I'm diving in. Tonally, they are very different. I like to think of the King's Demons opening to be very similar to the opening of the very first episode of Blackadder, which was broadcast on BBC TV only 3 months later. A bunch of beardy, dirty, conniving men plotting around a big dinner in a medieval castle. Naturally, all is not what it seems. No demons, by the way. That's just what the Doctor and his companions are continuously referred to, in a very matter-of-fact manner. So matter-of-fact, in fact, that you start to wonder why their arrival isn't really considered much of a surprise. At the centre of this confusion is King John. The year is 1215. And what are you doing here in the castle of Ranulph Fitz William, King John? Aren't you supposed to be in London taking the Crusaders' oath? Why is history being wrong? And who is this worm-tongued, little-fingerish French person with the lovely beard and hair, murmuring sweet nothings into the king's ear and... okay, I got you. It actually took me a while to twig, I'll be honest. It's one of his better disguises. The Master is manipulating this king to perverse the course of history, and therefore deprive the world of the Magna Carta, so it's a flipping good job the Doctor turned up. And he's pretty silky smooth throughout, talking the talk and getting offered some legit hospitality instead of getting kidnapped as usual. Stop calling them demons. How many demons do you know who look like that? This is one of the more specific plans by the Master to dominate the Earth, so give him extra points for imagination. More significantly for the bigger picture, you see the introduction of Chameleon. That's right, it's not really King John but a shape-shifting robot weapon that the Master acquired on the planet Zerifas. He's really not a bad bot by any stretch of the imagination, and he turns out to be one of a few robot companions who have come and gone over the years, and possibly one of the most underused. He was active on the TARDIS roster for nearly an entire season, but did, well, pretty much absolutely nothing until he left in the Planet of Fire. I always used to tell people about Resurrection of the Daleks, and I'd go on about how, except for Davros, OBS, the Doctor, Tegan, Turlo, Lytton and his 2 bobbies, that everybody in that serial died. But turns out that wasn't entirely true because Chameleon was there the entire time as well. It's just that he was sat in the TARDIS doing nout during one of the most bloodthirsty events in Doctor Who history. He did drop by for the 5th Doctor's regeneration dream sequence, which was courteous. Overall, The King's Demons is a good little bout of history and a touch more akin to the original pre-Daleks mission statement of Doctor Who, which was to teach kids about historical events. Besides, of course, the Robot King playing a lute next to the Master while he eats a carrot. He's right there, Doctor. This again. Always fun. Charming little story, I must say, and a corker of a medieval minstrel song as well. That tune really makes you want to bash your tankard against your mate's tankard. With these historical encounters growing ever more pseudo, you'd think that the gradual descent into weird madness was almost by design, because the looniest of Peter Davison's pseudo-historical adventures was saved until the final season, The Awakening. Take history, smash it against the wall with the present, add some ancient extraterrestrial evil and you're in for a wild one. I'm actually a big fan of this adventure, though I can understand why people might think otherwise. It's got a very interesting premise that isn't always explained very clearly, but I'm of the slightly avant-garde opinion that not everything needs to be explained with crystal clarity for a story to be good, but that's just me. It's still a heck of a ride. The story is set in 1643 during the English Civil War, except that it's not. It's 1984. These men enjoy battle reenactments but are taking the recreation of the Battle of Little Hodcombe a step too far. They almost run down this woman for a laugh. Fronting the recreation is George Hutchinson, who ranks extremely high in the annoying plebometer of classic Doctor Who characters. But it's kind of not his fault because he's being controlled by, nope, it's not the Time Lords waiting to hear the Doctor's name. That was a crack joke. But the Malice. Told you this was a weird one. Consider also that they found this thing in an old church. Very cool prop though. Look at those eyes. As alien threats with psychic powers go, this is easily one of the most disturbing. Look at that thing it's made there. And that. Yep, that's pretty creepy too. Yep. Oh. This church has a secret rift between past and present, and on the other side the real battle set during the English Civil War takes place, both points in time emerging at an alarming rate. Malice is the god of war, believed to be a superstition and also the devil because medieval people have a tendency to believe that anything alien is biblical in some way. But I can confirm it is an alien. A psychic weapon from an ancient planet that feeds on hate and magnifies it back to its source to cause havoc, just because that's what it's designed to do. It's a war machine to end all war machines. Wasted on these twerps, if you ask me. The reenactment is about to get real. The village is under lockdown. The participants in this war game are so into their parts that there is no proper discerning reality from fiction anymore. Our heroes are coerced into being characters themselves. Sir George is on the cusp of burning people at the stake. And the Malice is in the TARDIS. Oh, that's horrid. Oh, it's just hanging there. Just stop it. No. They don't even want to look at it. Oh, now it's being sick and crying gunk. It gets even more grisly when these psychic projections actually manage to decapitate a guy. It happens off camera. But the TARDIS breaks the psychic link and, more importantly, Sir George gets killed and literally nobody cares. Nobody. Absolutely nobody. The Doctor and his companions get invited to a tea party and the story ends with everyone talking about how good tea is. Seriously, it's a wild 2 episodes. I love the juxtapose of modern day rural serenity invaded by the warped tendrils of savage military history. If you kept up with the story in this one, then good for you. I mean, yeah, it's... Never mind about the story, it's cool. These are great monsters, they were really onto something here. Whew! There you go, 3 cereals for the price of 1. I hope you enjoyed that, I'm knackered. I had great fun with all of these mad, set in the past 2-parters. They were a good fit for the down-to-earth temperament and almost down-to-earth appearance of Peter Davidson's Doctor. The 5th Doctor's 3 seasons, of course, had some corkers, as we all know, and a great deal of variety. These 2-parters were more than just fillers, but capers unto themselves. Easy to overlook, but great fun to watch. Check them out. What are your favourite historical episodes? Sound off in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a good one.